You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a StarCitizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, StarCitizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and/or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radagast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, StarCitizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce, and this is episode 122. We're going to dive into the Onyx Facilities Hyperion Mission, exploring its design, its gameplay flow, and impact on the overall StarCitizen universe. We also break down the latest Roadmap Roundup and Progress Tracker. We're going to highlight the Apollo Triage giveaway winner. We'll do that first, actually. And recap the latest This Week in StarCitizen events that happened in and around the verse. So, more than likely, the shortest episode of the podcast ever. Not a lot is going on, and I would surmise that it's more than likely because we're getting so close to our CitizenCon Direct. Guys, we're like 14 days away. So not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. That is incredibly close. And I, for one, am super excited to facilitate the Austin location for y'all. And that's going to be very engaging, especially with the Astro Pub. DJ Knight is going to be there as well as one of our panel guests that we're going to be interviewing kind of after the direct video itself. So there's so much to get into on that end of the agenda. So here we go, guys. First off, OBS and Stream Deck is starting to really tick me off. Either one or both of them will have an update literally Friday morning when I am trying to get started. So I'm like 18 minutes late on this podcast because Stream Deck wouldn't talk to OBS and OBS wouldn't talk to Stream Deck. And like you would think after doing this for, 8 years at this point, I would know to check for updates first. But that's the solution for 99.9% of the problem. It's just making sure each is always updated. So I'm sorry for being late, which means nothing to you because you're going to listen to this when you listen to it. I'm just annoyed. Well, I hope this finds everybody well. I want to catch y'all up on some personal side things that has happened in Sulyce or Beyond the Verse or Soul Provision, and then we'll get into like the meat and potatoes of StarCitizen. So really fun, actually. Sunday night. So I usually have my directors sync, like the board of directors sync with Soul Provision. It's 4 of us. You guys have heard them on this podcast before. So we usually do a meeting on Sunday nights where we get together and we just talk through the next like 30, 60, 90 days, typical things along those lines. But I hadn't gone through, because I missed Org Night the Thursday before, I hadn't gone through the Hyperion mission yet for the Onyx Facilities. And so I had thrown out the idea, hey, why don't we do like a play session while discussing board of directors things? And sure enough, we went through, plus Steelwicker, as most of y'all know. We brought him along with us, but we jumped in to 431's latest content in the Hyperion mission, and it was extremely fun. So I'll get into my reactions. That's actually one of the main segments for this episode, on my reactions and review of the entire Onyx Facility mission set. So we'll put that aside, but had a really good time with that Sunday night. Finally got caught up with like the latest content. And then I did a very impromptu camping trip with my son. So I took my son out to Hidden Falls Adventure Park. It's like Marble Falls, Texas. It's right outside of Austin, Texas. And so I want y'all to think Red Dead Redemption, like what that looks like and feels like when you're playing as Arthur Morgan. That's basically where we go camping. It feels that way. It looks that way. So I had an amazing time, off-roading with my son. We always start off at like barbecue. We go to Rudy's, which is like a gas station barbecue joint that's here in Texas. Legit barbecue. So we did that. We went from barbecue to Bass Pro Shop. I'm giving you like my entire background here, but Bass Pro Shop's like where it's at. One of my favorite places to go shop at. Just feels awesome. The ambience is amazing. And then we went to the campsite at Hidden Falls, where it's mainly like off-roading. There's also a rifle range, but my son is 9 years old. So my plan was to take him to his first rifle range when he was 10 and showed some maturity before he got behind a firearm. So whole other conversation. But we did. We went camping. We got everything set up. We went off-roading, which is an amazing park to do all that in. And then we came back on Tuesday, had a great time. And then I got caught back up into StarCitizen things like starting Wednesday. So I don't know how much of that y'all care about, but just had an amazing like beginning of the week. Really refreshing to go out there and touch grass. And then last night, Thursday night, back at it with Soul Provision. I made the call to split our group up into like two efforts. One to catch everybody up through phase 1 and 2 of the Onyx facilities. And then, of course, we had our progression team kind of go through the latest, the phase 3, I guess we're going to call it, but the Hyperion experiment mission. And so I kind of want to start there. Actually pause. Everybody just slam on the brakes here. We have a giveaway to get through, and I think there's a lot of attention to that. So let me just get all my things together since the stupid update with OBS and Stream Deck. Let me fire this up. Okay, we're here. Let me share my screen. And again, I'm hoping all of this is working. Like, I hope when I share my screen, you guys can actually see this. But here we go. So we had a total of 154 entries. So 154 entries. We only had a handful that didn't get the engagement question right. So remember, I tried something new where I said in episode 121, I was going to give you a 5-digit code somewhere in the episode, and you would have to present that in the engagement question in order to be considered to win, right? So here we are. Oh, I need to remove duplicates. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let me just make sure. There we go. I do want to remove duplicates because that's still a thing. Guys, only enter once. I wish to make sure that's very, very clear. So remove duplicates based off of unselect all. We're going to do RSI email because I think that matters most. 2 duplicates were found. All right, guys, no more duplicates. Stop it. You guys are bad. Okay, back to sharing my screen. All right, here we go. So I'm going to select, or I'm going to randomize the list. And if you are the top winner with the correct engagement question, you have won the Apollo Triage with lifetime insurance plus the StarCitizen game, the digital copy of the game. So here we go. I'm always going to show y'all how I do this because I think that is completely fair. So randomize the number. I bring that randomized number down. I copy and paste this text. I think I've already explained that to y'all before. So that way it doesn't change when I go here and sort. So we're going to go here, sort, boopity boop. We're going to do largest to smallest. So in Sanju. So Sanju wins. He is 18 of age. He heard about us through the podcast, and he did get the engagement question correct. So congratulations to this individual. We're going to highlight that. You have won a $250. That's a very, very nice giveaway. So thank you to CIG, of course, for helping, not really sponsor, but kind of giving us the giveaway to giveaway. So thank you very much. Back to my experiences with the Onyx facility. So first off, let me just flat out say, this is the best thing that has happened to StarCitizen. Easily. Best thing that has happened. You could say the game loops are very phenomenal, and you could say the server meshing is great. The introduction of the Idris and the Polaris, all great. But like that is like, to me, and this is going to insult a lot of our listeners and viewers, but to me, that's like fleeting. It's fleeting. Now, I appreciate it. I think you know this. 121 episodes. You know that I appreciate everything that CIG has done for the tech and everything, right? You know that about me. But I think if you look at the grand scheme of things, it's like you notice it and you're like, okay, what's next? So when we think like server meshing, if you actually dive into the tech pillars of the object container streaming, of persistent entity streaming, of server meshing and dynamic server meshing, when you start really looking into that, it's all on the back end. And it becomes this expectation for gamers of like, well, yeah, there should be 1,000 people on my shard. And I should be able to go and the server should react depending on if I'm in a high congested area or a low pop area. Like, okay, yeah, this is my expectation in 2025. But I don't think there's a general understanding or appreciation of what actually goes into that from a tech perspective. So I think as a just average gamer, you're going to look at all these things, all these like bells and whistles that are happening. And you're like, okay, next. I would even argue if StarCitizen were to launch base building, it would end up like a No Man's Sky base building, where it's just, yeah, it's the expectation. It's not that special thing, right? As people kind of play it out to be, right? Like we all thought the Idris was going to be this game breaker, this amazing, thing to happen to StarCitizen. It was cool for like a month, and now I don't see anybody flying it, because it takes too much effort to fly everything we predicted what would happen. And so it's, we talk about this like train station. I've said it many times of like, you're excited about the next stop and the next stop and the next stop where you don't truly enjoy the ride. This is kind of one of those moments. The Onyx Facilities is one of those moments where you just need to enjoy the ride. This is the first time I feel that StarCitizen has gone deep on a mission. Right? It's not just this like transactional. Like that's been my issue with StarCitizen up to this point, is everything feels very transactional. Take a mission, turn something in. Very MMO, right? Take a mission, turn it in. Grab 6 boxes, turn in those 6 boxes. Grab 190 boxes for a line in mine or for the race for Stanton, right? Turn it in. It was just very transactional. It feels like a virtual job, right? The Onyx Facilities is an actual story that takes you deep into content, right? Now, there's not a lot of like space aspect here. This is FPS. This is absolutely Call of Duty. It's absolutely Fallout. Like it is 100% you get out of your ship and the rest of the time is, FPS. But again, there's this preparation phase at Seraphim Station. There's getting things ready. Make sure you get the red pins and the yellow pins, making sure that you've got extra ammo, like eating a pizza or eating a hot dog, like with your group or right before you go, because you're going to be out in the thick of it for, several minutes, if not hours, to get into the ship, to fly to the Onyx facility, which is already ominous and like very, dark. We'll just call it dark, right? To land there and then realize you're on your own, like you and your group, this is it. And you could be attacked by PvPers, and you could be attacked by aliens and worms and humanoid PvE. So it's this like, it's just this amazing culmination of just even getting to the damn mission. And then once you're there, they did an incredible job. I think they did an incredible job of bringing all the aspects of FPS together under one roof. You're going to need a mining tool. You're going to need a salvaging tool with a canister full of material, right? You're going to need a tractor beam like always, especially in the Hyperion mission. It literally brings in everything together. And that first puzzle you have to do while trying to survive. I can't belabor this enough. Again, there's not a lot to talk about this week. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. I cannot oversell the Onyx facility missions. So let's get into like phase 1 and phase 2. Everybody's already been through it for the most part, but if this is your first time listening, or maybe you're interested in StarCitizen or you haven't tried it out yet, phase 1 and phase 2 can be soloed. I actually was able to do the last mission of phase 2, which is like the data. Let me back up. So phase 1 is like your files missions, like you're going to the engineering wing and the research wing to get some files together. Okay. Phase 2 is the data missions, where you're having to extract data onto a like a server blade, and then you got to take it back to like Seraphim Station, and you got to lift it up and down on a freight elevator. And then your phase 3 just happened. It's the Hyperion experiment, which we'll get into here in a couple seconds. Okay, so phase 1 and phase 2, you can do that all by yourself. And I would actually encourage you to do it by yourself. It involves a lot of puzzle solving, watching your back, like checking corners. And it kind of adds that level of, I don't want to say like fear, because I don't know, it's not scary. It's not like a Resident Evil game or Phasmophobia or anything, but it does have its jump scare moments. I'm not going to lie. So go there and do it yourself. Easy to do. It's through the investigation mission loop. Have at it, right? But you will absolutely need a full team. Like I'm thinking like 4, 5, maybe more than 5 to run the Hyperion experiment. Okay. Phase 1 and phase 2 is great. Go do it. It's dark. It's ominous. It's puzzle solving. I really liked the aspect in phase 2 where you had to repair the pipe before you can download the data. Like just kind of fun, right? It's fun and actually leads into the puzzle for Hyperion. So let's get into the latest. Hyperion. This is great. You need about an hour. I know like last night, so org nights are usually 2 hours, and our progression team took a team through twice. So they were able to do the Hyperion mission twice under 2 hours, but they also had 8 or more people. So you're going to want a significant amount of people in order to do this. So you get in, everything is already familiar, right? You're going to the engineering side. Again, everything is familiar. You've gone through this many times up to this point. But you start seeing a lot of the pieces that you didn't touch in the first 2 phases. You start seeing them become relevant. So there's a lot more pipes you need to repair. You actually need to take your mining gun out, and you need to actually remove some of the dunnage and clutter around pipes. And then you got to go back and repair pipes. And then and it's timed. You have to like make sure you're doing things in sequential order. And so there's 4 like systems you have to repair and make sure that they're working before you even have access to do the next puzzle. So you go up, walk around the big worm, and you've got this other puzzle where you have to pick up these like server blade looking things and put them into the servers. And that activates additional stuff. I'm not going to go through every single puzzle, but as you go through and you start kind of solving as a team, like that hard pause, like that for me is what I am looking for in StarCitizen. I'm not looking for another solo game. That'll be Squadron 42, and that'll be every other game on the market, right? Like I'm not looking for a solo game. I'm looking for something that Hyperion gave us, and it's that group collective problem solving. So fast forward, you're in that massive arena of 0G, right? And that, if you remember from phase 2, that was a pain in the ass trying to get that, like, I guess the data downloaded on the server blade. Well, it's even worse now because you got to go to each arm of the orb and you have to do something there. That is, I think, the first part where I felt anxiety. Like it was like I needed everybody on their A game. I wanted to make sure people were doing what they were supposed to be doing because we were timed. We were getting blasted by radiation. So like that was a really intense moment. And then once you're done with that room, the rest is like kind of a sit back and enjoy. It's not so complicated. It's not entirely hard, but the things that CIG reveals, like in the next couple of minutes, gives me so much hope for the game. And I don't want to sound hyperbolic. I don't want to sound like I'm this like, it's not even white knighting, but this like, dream state. But it gives me hope for the future of what StarCitizen can be. It's a simple FPS, but it's driven by this intense, layered lore like system or strategy or whatever you want to call it. But there's things to read on the walls and on computers. You're getting intel on your headset, right? You're seeing things, and I think at this point it's not a leak and it's not ruining anything for anybody, but at the very end, they introduce the first alien like physically in the game, and it's Vandal. It's splayed open. It's completely like it's dead, but it's been experimented on. And when you start running the experiment on the Vandul, just the lighting in that moment and the music. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing it justice. I don't know if I'm doing it justice. It was an incredible moment that Sunday night. And it's one that like I'm glad we as Soul Provision can continue to give to our community, because you're not going to really be able to experience that unless you have a group of 5 or more. And so if you haven't had the chance, I'm not saying join Soul Provision, but if you haven't had the chance, try to get yourself 4 or 5 people. You owe it to yourself. If you are a backer of StarCitizen, you owe it to yourself to get out there and do this. It is an incredible experience. And CIG, for those listening, congratulations. That is the direction. I think that is the home run ball that most of us, I would say most of us, there's a few salty individuals that are loud on social media who will just never be happy. But I think the majority of your backers, this is it. I think this is it. More of this. Yeah. Aliens are now in the game. They're not alive. They're not alive. You can't fight with them or you can't interact with them just yet. But you've got kind of the virtual holographic Banu, which is Wicklow. I hate mentioning him because he sucks so bad. CIG, fix him. But now you've got like this body of Vandul. I still maintain that there's a strong possibility that we will see aliens in StarCitizen before Squadron 42. So within the next year. I said earlier, like around CitizenCon, but it's pretty advantageous. I are pretty aggressive. Like let's just give it a little bit more time. I'd say before Squadron 42. So anyways, amazing experience. Get in there, do it. I would give it probably an 8 out of 10. Guys, I'm very, when it comes to rating things, like the only 9 out of 10 that I would ever rate anything is Red Dead Redemption. Like that story, like those missions, I would absolutely give something like that a 9 out of 10. Nothing will ever get a 10 out of 10 because nothing is ever perfect. And it should never be, because we should always want more as consumers. But this is pretty damn close up there. So good job, CIG. Boom. Let's get into CIGs. This week in StarCitizen. In fact, when I share my screen, you're going to see a screenshot by Mr. McCracken. Or Mr. Kraken. This is a really good like picture of what I'm talking about. Like you would see this out of a movie. Like I hate sounding like one of the youths, but like this is absolute cinema. Like you were playing a movie. So this is a great image to kind of lead into, but let's get into this week. So quoting the article, here we go. Last week packed a punch with an all-new patch, a fresh comms dive, and events both in-game and out-of-game. Monday kicked off with the conclusion of the Race for Stanton event, with Hurston Dynamics claiming victory in the region crisis. Citizens rally to haul, mine, and defend and recover cargo to support the cause. By September 16th, Hurston Dynamics had amassed a staggering 337 million SCU, followed by Microtech, Crusader, and then ArcCorp. Your efforts made this one for the UEE history books, and rewards have already been distributed, with more coming. Comms Dive number 3 dropped Tuesday, answering a variety of your recent questions, covering everything from ship lights to incoming UI improvements. If you haven't yet, dive in on Spectrum. A new episode of Behind the Ships introduced the RSI Apollo, the perfect remedy for injuries and adventuring mishaps. You can also explore the official RSI Apollo page in its dedicated Q&A to learn more about the RSI's latest. The week continued with a patch release of Alpha 431 Virtue's Descent. We've been excited to see you all exploring the dangerous depths of the Onyx Facilities. If you haven't accepted Arkin Maller's new mission yet, do so now and discover Project Hyperion and its new challenges, improved puzzles, balancing, and of course, the loot. Finally, over the weekend, the Bar Citizen World Tour landed in Rome, Italy. The team had an incredible time connecting in person with the Italian community. Truly a special event. Big shout out to all the organizers for putting it together. Such a fantastic Bar Citizen. Cute little picture. And then, so this week, this is why this is going to be a very short podcast. this is it. So we've got the roadmap update and roundup on Wednesday. That's it. There was nothing else at all the rest of this week. And again, I'm okay with that personally. And let's just, I guess while we're here, let's just keep going. Here is the roadmap roundup. So 431, again, I don't necessarily know why this is ever called out. It's released, so you know what's released. All right, here's 432. So between now and I'm going to call this the CitizenCon Direct patch. This will be the patch that takes us into CitizenCon. All right, so here we go. A new event in 432 related to the Fight for Pyro storyline. So remember, Fight for Pyro is the faction one, right? The Citizens for Prosperity, the Frontier Fighters, Freedom Fighters, Frontier Fighters. I think it's Frontier Fighters, the Headhunters. I think that's the only three. No, there's four. Maybe that's all that matters. There's another one I can't think of. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so you have that whole thing. So if you remember the mission sets back since February-ish, that is a continuation. Probably the conclusion. Again, I can't really think that there's going to be that much more after CitizenCon Direct. So we will probably see the conclusion, a Fight for Pyro potentially. Next, you have the Clausen Werner laser repeater art refactors, updating several Clausen Werner laser repeaters art style and geometry, size 1, 2, and 3. New Wicklow ship offerings, so adding multiple new ships and vehicles to the ever-expanding Wicklow's Emporium. The Crusader A2 Hercules, the Crusader Ares Starfighter, the Inferno and Iron, Asperia Prowler utility with upgraded components and a unique base livery. These rewards can be unlocked by completing Wicklow's contracts. Good luck. Good luck with Wicklow's contracts, because those are still borked. All right, Heavy Battle Tech Armor, adding a new Heavy Battle Tech Armor. I know it's just repeating the title of the item, but one of the things, I think Starcloth, Starweave. I'm trying to I'm doing this by memory or the top of my dome here, but there was something in CitizenCon last year that they were saying that there is purposed, is that the right word, or classification of armor, the tank armor, almost like an MMO setting. And I don't feel like they're moving that direction anymore. I feel like they're changing it back. This is the Heavy Battle Tech Armor. That's great. But if the future is to have classes of armor, I guess this is kind of the same. It's just, for me, it feels different. I feel like they had attributes, this is the tank armor, and it was heavy with life, maybe low in agility. And it had these traits. And I don't know if I've seen any progress there. My action item coming out of this podcast is to go back into the monthly reports, and I will reread just to make sure that I'm tracking all the same. But I just had a brain, I don't know, fart or aneurysm in this moment. So I'm going to do my research. I'm going to come back to you with that. But I feel like the armor is headed a different direction, what they told us in CitizenCon. So new hairstyles. Again, every patch this year has had new hairstyles, which is great. So good work, team, there. I think I've changed my hair in the game 4 or 5 times. And I was originally hellbent on having what I had going into 2025. But I've already changed it because the new hairstyles are that good. The AI FPS turrets, so adding anti-personnel turrets for players to avoid or destroy, providing additional PvE challenges, and then mission pickup on location, enabling new missions to be discovered and added to journals when you approach or enter a designated area. Now, I would argue that some of that already exists, because once you finish phase 2 of the Onyx facilities, the investigation missions, it'll unlock mercenary bounty hunting. It'll unlock other game loops that involve the Onyx facilities. But in order for those to populate, you have to be near the planet system. So you can't just be in Seraphim Station and open up your Moby Glass and see one of the new missions at, one of the new Onyx facilities. So you would have to fly to an orbital marker at Yella, as an example, and then you would see the new missions. So I don't know if that's intentional, but I feel like that's already starting to do the mission pickup on location. I know. And then I took this week's social media post maybe a different direction than others. So a lot of people will just copy, and paste like the report, and they'll put it on their socials and say, here's the roadmap update. But then I saw this progress tracker and I was like, there's a whole nother side to the roadmap. The roadmap update summarizes what the progress tracker is doing, right? So you look at the progress tracker, and then here's a list of items: crafting, engineering, FPS, radar and scanning, inventory, rework, and transport refactor, and the command module, right? And so I was like, I don't know. I figured I would go into the progress tracker for you and see what those look like. And so I'll do the first one as an example of like how I did my work. I'm showing my work like I'm back in college, but like crafting, for instance, right? So let's take crafting. So I went to the progress tracker, right? Boopity boop, boop. So once you're in the progress tracker, you go to deliverables, and then you search in deliverables. What was it? Crafting. And so crafting comes up. There's one team working on it. It's been going on for 102 weeks, implementing the ability for players to craft various items using resources from throughout the persistent universe. And then you see that the roadmap, right? It says a tentative due date in December, kind of mid-December in Q4 2025, right? Now, it's easy to do what I did. Right. What I did, let me real quick go to my social media. I'll show you my post. Yeah, right here. Okay. So I did this. I took this post. It has 5.6 thousand views. So it did its job. 126 likes, 8 bookmarks. Like, this is a very engaging post. But what I did is I went to each one of the progress tracker items like crafting, engineering, and I just reported the date that it was tentatively, complete on. So crafting, December 2025, engineering, October 2025. So we might see something engineering in CitizenCon Direct, right? FPS, radar, and scanning, December 2025. Inventory rework, October 2025. The transport refactor, October 2025. The command module, if y'all remember, this is like the same thing that drives the Ironclad. Will also, is it Ironclad? Damn it. I think it's the Ironclad, but the same module that commands or flies the Ironclad will also fly the Caterpillar, right? So this is what this is. February 2026, introducing the concept of vehicles taking over control from other host ships, primary use for spaceships like the Drake Caterpillar, right? And so I put those in. But there's absolutely a caveat here, and I want to be very clear. Like, yes, look at crafting. It says December 2025. Does that mean we expect to see crafting in December 2025? It is a very, 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 like, maybe. It's a maybe. And I actually come to the roadmap update to quote this directly. But just a reminder, when progress on a deliverable is marked complete, it doesn't necessarily mean it's ready for release. It may still require downstream support, transition to another team for further work, or other additional steps before completion. So I don't want to mislead you. Okay, the date that I put on my social media is just what this is reflecting. Crafting, December 2025. But it probably will be pushed into 2026 because of everything it impacts. Like, the idea of crafting, the technology of crafting could be done in December, but it has so many dominoes downstream that it will probably take another several months before we see it, either in a tech preview, Evocati, PTU kind of format. I think I've made myself clear. So just a heads up there as you start looking through this. Don't read too much into the roadmap update. It just look at it this way. If anything, it gives us an idea of what will be talked about in CitizenCon Direct. So, Okay, when we're already at the end of the podcast and we're like 30 or 40 minutes in. So again, like I said, a very quick podcast. I want to go to our last week's poll. So we asked you over on Spotify, we asked you, did you purchase the Apollo Triage or Medevac? And out of 20 votes, the breakdown is 45% say they will buy it with in-game UEC. And then 30% said it's not for me, which is really surprising. Like, I think it's in a phenomenal ship. Maybe too high of a price point. 200 and it's like 250 is the war bond triage price. That's a very expensive ship. So not for me. That's 30%. 15% said yes. They had bought it once 431 dropped. And then 10% of you said yes, you had bought it before, like an IAE during concept. Okay, to the comments section. Here we go. I usually already have this open. Stupid Stream Deck. All right, so Billy the Beast writes, I hope we get to fight the Vandul soon. It's awesome we get to see one in the new mission. I like the medbed changes, but I think all tiers of medbeds should have the same respawn range. Interesting. Does 1,000 meters equal 1 gigameter? Let me just stop there. No, it doesn't. So it is the metric system. So for every 1,000, you have like a new name for it. So 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. 1,000 kilometers is 1 megameter. I don't know, I could be saying that wrong. And then like 1,000 megameters is 1 gigameter. Back to the post. The black and white gold paint is my favorite for the Apollo. I'm not getting one, but that paint makes me want to get one. Yeah. The concierge paint, I think they've kind of just gone towards, well, first off, that's not the concierge paint, but I feel like the concierge paint primarily is this like gunmetal, like grayish black with gold. And they didn't do that this time for the Medevac. It's actually like that gunmetal black and gray with blue. So I thought that was a really good kind of change of a norm. So I don't know. I welcome that for concierge. You can almost predict what concierge will look like on ships. And then I say that, but like the RSI Meteor was the disco paint. And that was like a really like multicolored kind of really pretty ship as well. So just ignore what I just said. So Jason Funk writes, super excited for the new Onyx areas. I've been absolutely loving running the research and engineering areas. Just wait until you get into Site B if you haven't already, which is where the Hyperion experiment takes place. I would love to see alien NPCs or enemies introduced into the verse as well. Yeah, again, the assets are ready. They've been ready for Squadron 42. So just implementing those into StarCitizen, I feel like that would be an easy win. And again, easier said than done. There's other things that they need to consider. All right, Noah writes, I'm really happy that CIG continued the Onyx Facilities storyline. I enjoy PvP, but PvE is a luxury one can't often find to its fullest extent in the verse. That's like the whole thing of this podcast. I've had a really great time running through the missions with my friend, and overall not dying to bugs or an overwhelming amount of players has been great. Also, I'm really excited for CitizenCon. I won't be able to attend an in-person event, but I am particularly excited to learn more about base building. Thanks for another great episode. I appreciate you. And I do think base building, like, I don't think they have a choice. I think they have to discuss base building because that was last year's CitizenCon. Then they said that something would start this year, and they're not. So something has to come out. Gerdell writes, could you explain why they destroyed the price of RMC? There's nothing in the patch notes, and it seems completely out of the blue. This essentially has ruined salvaging and its game loop. I'll be at the Onyx facility until we figure this out. Yeah, so this is a known issue. In fact, like the day of, if not the very next day, they were already putting in the message of the day. They were already saying that a hotfix was going in to fix the RMC pricing. So it's not intended. They did not destroy salvaging for the sake of pushing, the medical gameplay for an example. So maybe by the time of this podcast, they would have fully fixed it. But I think they've done a few hot fixes in the last couple of days to address it. But I still think the problem is lingering. I don't really know why there's still an issue, but I don't know. It's still there for whatever reason. All right, Dan writes, hi. And once again, thanks for the podcast. It's straight to the point, which I like. You are very welcome. For the Sitcon pack, I bought it the moment it was available in the shop. It's the first I will see live. Hopefully for more to come. The pirating for the med gel can easily be fixed, in my opinion. Just lock it in place once it's inserted. It takes out the pirating for the med staff. #respect to them players. Yeah, here's my deal. Here's what I like to do. If I know I'm getting pirated and and I've got material on the ship or whatever, you consider it already gone, right? Especially in like the medevac, you're not going to fend off pirates in the in a triage or a medevac. You're just not going to do it, right? There might be some sweaty out there that can, but most people won't be able to. So here's what I like to do. If I know I'm being pirated and the shit in my ship is already gone, I will set that to self-destruct. I will set it to self-destruct and I'll just kind of let myself be taken over. And so I've done this once and I executed it perfectly. I was flying a caterpillar. And I had many like items or many like cargo boxes doing a delivery mission, like a large delivery mission or cargo mission. And I was at an orbital marker 1 above Crusader, which is a very hot spot for pirates, right? Because that's one of the first orbital markers that most people go to. And so when I got to orbital marker 1, there was like 2 or 3 pirate ships there. They started firing on me. So I immediately set it to like self-destruct and they soft death me. And this is beautiful, guys. I was already out of the pilot seat. So I was already making my way outside of the caterpillar. So self-destruct, got out of the seat, got EVA'd maybe, a good distance away from the caterpillar. I was able to see the pirates get onto the ship just in time for the ship to explode. So killed the pirates, killed everybody around us. Like I survived because I was far enough away EVAing. Now there was no way for me to get back. So I had to like log out of the game and log back in because I was just floating in space. And I'm not about to EVA my ass from orbital marker 1 all the way to Seraphim Station. But like that was a perfectly executed like self-destruct killing pirates scenario. I encourage everyone to do that. If you're a pirate and you're hearing that, just know that's a risk you take. And it will be now for everybody who listens to this podcast. It's also really fun to watch. Okay, so that's Dan. We talked about all that. Yes. All right. Man, is it Jaya? Is it Gaya? Jaya? I don't know how to pronounce your name. I know you're in the org too. So next time I see you in the org, I'm going to ask you. But great episode as always. Good way to start my Monday. Really appreciate you listening and engaging. Thanks a lot, friend. Stillwicker Beast 431 is maybe one of the best patches of the years because of the Onyx Facilities site Bravo and the associated Hyperion mission in its own. 100% agree with you, bud. Getting two backlog ships that players have been waiting for is a huge plus. The RMC bug definitely hurts, and a lot of people overreacted to the change, but outside of that temporary bug, I've been enjoying this patch. Well said. Dreamer of Days. A Vandal in the verse sounds like Nyx is coming soon. Yeah, I'm going to respond to that here in a second. As far as medical, it'd be nice if we were allowed a cheaper but time-consuming route. I'm imagining a hand scanner that shows injuries and the medic has to apply treatments, kind of like Snake Eater, entirely through a menu. But if you do the wrong thing, it wastes supplies. That way both options have pros and cons. Starting a new job soon where I'll rotate weekends, so I should finally be able to play, if only on my comp days. Hell yeah, dude. First off, congratulations on the new job. I want to ask you more about the hand scanner that shows injuries, because you already have that sort of in the Paramed device, right? In that white gun, the Paramed, you scan and it kind of tells you the data up on your user interface or your HUD. So I'm curious what more or what difference you would be looking for out of a hand scanner that shows like the injuries. So, and I mean that sincerely, just I would love to pick your brain on that. But again, congratulations on the new job. Can't wait to see you in the org. 2 more comments. Christopher, writes, honestly, they should fix the myriad of ways you can randomly die before touching item insurance. Stuff like choking in a station elevator or clipping through the hangar floor needs sorting out first. Honestly, 100% in agreement. Like T0's really awesome. Insurance for ships. Like I think the principles and the foundations like sound good. But man, there's a lot of things out of your control that happen. Yeah. So they need to fix a lot of that like underlying the foundational issues before they penalize players. I agree. And the last comment from Zayek. Maybe I'm psycho, but I really enjoy that first login after a patch. Yeah. I roleplay walk my way through stores in full clothing. I fill up on ammo, meds, and delicious, nutritious, absolutely dubious crews. Refit my arsenal with my favorite attachments, refit my ship. And to me, it makes that first takeoff of the patch feel so good. Very excited about the new stuff, especially Onyx related. Thanks for the podcast and happy Friday. I appreciate your comments, man. Thanks a lot. And I can't not agree with you more. I can't agree with you more. I love that too. I love how everything gets consolidated in your like home inventory. So it kind of like forces you to be able to do that, right? Like all the subscriber, gear, all the new stuff that, you might have bought with the patch expansion. It's nice that it's all there. And then loading into your hangar has its pros and cons. I get it. The immersion kind of sucks. But being able to log right into your hangar and have access to all of that is extremely nice. It kind of helps with that. But I don't know about you, but I role play up in Seraphim. So I start in Orison, and of course I get all my ships and stuff. I make sure all my ships have the right, paints. So that way, whenever I call them from different locations, they have the right paint. But then I get to Seraphim Station as soon as I can, just because the buying experience is so much more consolidated and compacted. It's a better experience. So I cannot agree with you more. It's such a great experience. Okay. So that is episode 122, guys. We talked about the Onyx Facilities Hyperion Mission, kind of phase 1 and 2 on it. We gave away the Apollo Triage. So again, congratulations to that individual. And we also discussed the roadmap update and the progress tracker. Guys, I think this was a great episode. I cannot wait. 14 days away from CitizenCon Direct. I cannot wait to meet some of you. Well, I can't wait to meet all of you, but I can't wait to meet you. So come up and say hi, shake my hand. I cannot wait to facilitate that with Paul, the Astropub. I think Burks is going to try to be there. I don't know. But a lot of other content creators will be there as well. So please stop by and say hi. We are still doing our philanthropy with Extra Life. So if you want to give to children's hospitals, 100% straight pass through to the hospitals. We don't see it. We don't touch it. You can go to beyondtheversehq.com/give. And while we're on that topic, anything with Beyond the Verse podcast or Soul Provision, you can find any information that you want to on our websites. That's beyondtheversehq.com or soulprovision.com. And that is SOL, soulprovision.com. All right. I hope this finds everybody well. Safe travels as you traverse beyond the verse. Take care.